Seek the Lord. Here we read systematically through the scripture. And then I give a brief meditation on the glory of Christ based on that passage. You can obtain written materials on these things from Amazon.com/author/J. Craig Chaffin. It'll take us about 3.5 years to get through all these meditations. And at the end of that time, we'll have covered every passage of the Bible. Today is February 1st, 2026, and today's passage is Genesis 33. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and he looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then he crossed over and before them, and he bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him. And they wept. And he lifted his eyes and he saw the women and children and said, "Who are these with you?" So he said, the children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then the maidservants came near, they and their children, and bowed down. And Leah came near with her children, and they bowed also. Afterward, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. Then Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" And he said, "These are to find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. What you have, keep for yourself." And Jacob said, "No, please, if I have found favor in your sight, and receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face as though I'd seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. Please take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." So he urged him, and he took it. And Esau said, "Let's take our journey. Let's go, and I will go before you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are weak, the flocks and the herds which are nursing are with me, and if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die. Please let my Lord go on ahead before his servant. I will lead on slowly at a pace which the livestock that go before me and the children are able to endure until I come to my Lord at Seir." And Esau said, "Well, now let me leave some of the people who are with me." But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built himself a house, and he made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of that place is called Succoth, which means booths. Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. And when he came from Paddan Aram, he pitched his tent before the city, and he bought the parcel of land where he had pitched the tent from, and the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. Then he erected an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. El Elohe Israel. Remember, I awakened to the scream of Laura's voice, and then to the sight of snow coming over the hood of our car and onto the windshield. It was around 2 a.m, and I had been sleeping. Laura was driving, and we were on I-20 in western Indiana, almost to the border when we hit black ice. Later, she told me that when she hit it, the car immediately went into a spin. In front of us was a semi, and behind us was a semi. She said it was like somebody just took the steering wheel and guided it safely as we're spinning into a deep snowbank. Well, gathering my sleepy thoughts, I realized that steam was pouring out from under the hood, and my first thought was, oh no, the engine block is cracked with the sudden temperature change. I had a very difficult time getting out of the car as the snow was halfway up the door on the car, and it was packed all around the car. Getting out and popping the hood, I observed that the impact snow up into the engine compartment and completely surrounded the engine. The steam was from the melting snow against the engine. A highway patrolman almost immediately pulled in behind us, got out his shovel, helped dig me out, pushed us back up on the highway and onto the road, and then said, "There's an exit 2 miles from here. You need to get off there, check into the motel, and wait till morning to finish your trip." Sometimes I wonder if that was an angel. You need to get out of there and check into the motel. So we did. He got in his car and drove off into the night. Never saw him again. Later, I realized what an amazing thing it was that our car was removed from spinning on the interstate at 55 miles an hour between two semis and strategically landed in a deep snowbank, cushioning our stop with no brakes ever applied, and that there was absolutely no damage either to our car or bodies. Most times we attribute such happenings to a coincidence. Well, you know what? I don't believe in coincidences. I've had too many such coincidences happen to me. I find it a lot harder to believe in coincidences than the mighty power of God that was involved. For those who have walked with God for some time, there come moments when you look back and you have this overwhelming realization about the mighty power of God. It's not only that he is mighty, but it's also that he has used that power on your behalf. Such was Jacob's experience upon his arrival at Shechem. It motivated him to build an altar, and he called it El Elohe Israel, which means God, the mighty God of Israel. No longer to Israel was God the God of his father Isaac, or God the father of his grandfather Abraham, but now he was God, the mighty God of Israel, of himself. Wow. I think he was reflecting on what God had done in the last 20 years. He left penniless, single, a fugitive from his brother's wrath. He's now returning, married, 12 kids, wealthy, and reconciled to Esau. Only the power of God could change Esau's attitude. He claimed that mighty God for himself. His time wrestling with God the night before, meeting Esau, and the evidence that God's completed promise and Esau's reconciled attitudes wrought a change in Jacob's attitude, in Israel's attitude. Jacob/Israel had received more than just a glimpse of the glory of the Lord, and it changed him. How about you? Have you seen God, the mighty God of Israel? More importantly, have you seen God, the mighty God of, fill in the blank with your name? Have you seen God, the mighty God of John, or your name? That's when it begins to make a difference in us. For you see, we indeed serve a glorious King. Speak his glory to someone today.